Bola Ahmed Tinubu, why I cannot laugh. Who is saying this? I need to see who is saying this. There's a lot of Bola Tinubu that makes people funny. At the end of the day, not a right side of fun anyway, because it's surprising and very embarrassing to have some of these experiences that Tinubu is throwing to the Nigerians and to the rest of the world. But let's see who is speaking and why he cannot laugh about Bola Tinubu's situation. If it were not biting me alongside millions of Nigerians, I would have been laughing today. The seeming helplessness and cluelessness of this government that came on board with massive arrogance is becoming a global shame. Daily, we see the economy tumble just as the president keeps appointing all sorts of yes men into offices and where offices are not available. He creates verbose and amorphous roles for people like my brother Fela Durotoye, cost to be borne by the taxpayers. I have reached a point where I have stopped going into sections with his key supporters. Arguing with pro-Tinubu supporters is now veering into the realm of arguing in the religious space where logic and fact-based engagement are thrown into the bush. On our BGL alumni group, an otherwise very brilliant investment banker who is pro-Tinubu was arguing very strongly in support of a 24-year-old non-starter appointed chairman of a strategic government institution. As he marshaled out his point, I was shaking my head and saying, this one is gone. Then the government, bowing to public pressure, rescinded the decision, and this, my fellow, rather than apologize to the group, ran to hide under some very spurious argument in shame. The other day, I went into an argument with a former member of the House of Representatives and a strong member of the Lagos establishment, and by extension, a strong pro-Tinubu person. As the case with them, he bullied me to a standstill, starting every argument with, "Have you run an election?" I told him this was the wicked way to engage because he was going at my credibility and shoring up his credibility to the audience such that his words, no matter how arcane, would be taken much more seriously than the mine because I hadn't run an election. I reminded him that as a political scientist, I knew that my right to abstain from a tainted process was also a very powerful political weapon. Why bother in an exercise that has already been rigged from end to end, complete with weakening of otherwise independent democratic institutions of the state? Then he started throwing up a new line of argument, which made me pity him. He separated legal from moral and said that we in opposition were pursuing morality as against the legality of it all. I bowed my head in shame. I repeat, there seems to be mass hypnotism amongst the elitist class in the Southwest as they continue to fight for the legitimacy of this aberration. I asked him like I have been asking others, bro, would you keep this person in your firm as your treasurer if after 10 years information comes out that he had some legal issues bordering on theft or drugs? This was in response to his talk about the statute of limitation. So he screamed me down with all sorts of arguments, trying to throw up legal technicalities that support this current situation we find ourselves in this country. He is not a political scientist, so I forgive him, for if he was, he would have known that the bedrock of politics and the common good, which is democracy, are those themes of morality, fair play, equity, and justice. Now, what we are seeing today negates the very foundation upon which democracy sits, and this is why the president can't seem to pull in enough moral platitude to fight for the economy, because he is seeking legitimacy. He didn't get in the polls. He left with positioning rent-seeking employees in strategic positions to sustain him and not necessarily fight for the economy. Today, we are seeing all sorts of journeymen in key positions as rewards for past or future dealings who are just there doing nothing while the economy is in free fall. Buhari had madmen who took negative decisions. At least they were bold enough to chest those stupid decisions. Today, what we have are low-level operatives in strong positions. What can Wale Edun or Cardoso do without clearance from a man who is spending 23 hours of day with lawyers, both local and international, in a morbid bid to fend off an inevitable date with fate? Edun and Cardoso are but tiny fishes and have been thrust into the wide ocean of international finance. A quick look at their background will show little people with little but no experience at that level. So serving the master as Commissioner of Finance in Lagos some 20 years ago and running a little-known investment banking outfit now gives you the courage to run an economy as large as Nigeria in a hemorrhage. From being the chairman of a little-known bank with 6 branches, he hits and utterly destroys CBN, and we expect magic. These are not even local champions, and you put our hope on them. It is no wonder that the Naira, which is the best barometer of economic performance today, is behaving like an invalid, leading to loss of profitability in large firms, and as such throwing millions into unemployment and pushing inflation towards 30% mark high. So it is this same search for legitimacy which will not come out has led to the profligacy we see in government, especially at the National Assembly, where those ones are behaving as if they are in a high school orgy. Now, the insecurity is astounding and unprecedented. Well, it is not their fault. It is the situation they find themselves in, where for the first time in Nigeria's history, they have a president under lock and key due to that once colorful history. It's small thing. I cannot laugh because it is biting me and millions, but all I can say at this point is, Mr. Tinubu, if you want our support, please announce that you will forget a second term and start making very strong decisions and appointments. Restructure the CBN and Ministry of Finance by taking out those two and replacing them with well-experienced developmental, fiscal, and monetary economists with a global experience and network, not just bankers who spent their careers chasing deposits. Now, for this one, okay. Take out the Minister of Solid Minerals and put a round peg in that hole, and let's start seeing action there, because that factor will definitely help with our revenues. Put back the ban on the 43 items, begin to seek debt relief, restructure debts to free up funds from debt servicing, and very importantly, reduce the cost of governance by 50%. We don't need all these people. Seek more private sector involvement in the economy, push back the government, and open up critical spaces like agriculture, power, and technology to private sector initiatives while you support with regulation and ease of doing business. Now, coming out to Nigerians and seek national forgiveness and seek their understanding and support as you try to correct the economy in 4 years, stating very clearly that we cannot afford another round of elections. So we will understand and be patient. Anything else, we will see the Naira hit 2,000 Naira to $1. And at the time, the market and the systems will react with uncanny wickedness that nothing you will do will assuage his anger. Let's stop playing the ostrich game. Nigeria is on fire, and you are really not showing any kind of resolve to contain, talk more of fighting the fire. Wow, that is the statement of this man. Unfortunately, the person that is writing this article did not include his name. But what we're saying here is faulting the kind of people that Tinubu is appointing into offices, like putting a square peg in a round hole, which definitely will not enter. And if you force it enter, it will scrape and scratch the round hole down to the bottom, and that will mean injury and bleeding. Okay, so what this man is saying is that this government need to do something. The people he has at Minister of Finance and CBN governors actually looks more like misfits there and should be changed. And Tinubu himself should apologize to Nigerians so that, and then forget about second tenor bid or second term bid, so that he can just do this 4 years and go home, and Nigerians will forgive him and bear for the next 4 years. Otherwise, it's going to be a very terrible situation that Nigeria is going to find itself as long as these people as long as these people are still his ministers. So that is what this man is saying. There are a few comments here. Let's see what those comments are. Somebody said he built Lagos, he built Lagos. The lie has been made bare. Drug dealer and certificate forger. Can you imagine? To a blind fool, reality is lies because he can never see it because he is totally blind, even in reasoning. That is what you and your kind are. Can you imagine? Somebody has responded to him. Okay. How does that lay bare? You are enviously senseless. You can't change history, but can only build on it. Or is it your monkey? Can you imagine? So insulting people. People cannot write without insulting others. They're very bad. Once I bow my head in shame, I repeat, there seems to be mass hypnotism amongst the elitist class in the Southwest as they continue to fight for the legitimacy of this aberration, hypnotized by nothing but tribalism. That is smart to know. The shame shall follow you, can you imagine, that insulting somebody there, and that is not fine. Someone say because, okay, they're insulting somebody there again, we can't go there. So, the situation right now that Nigeria finds itself is actually a very tough one, but I pray that God will help us one day to get out of it. Thank you for listening, and let's have your comments.